let's go over how to create a brand new offer to serve your market. Now, it sounds pretty straightforward, right? How do we create a new offer? You may have already created an offer in the past. If you're working with us in our agency, then yes, you already have an offer that has been validated to a great extent. If you are still in the process of putting together some new offers, or let's say you already have a validated offer and you're like, hey, I want to add a new product or a new service into my offer suite because your other one has been matured and exhausted. If you're working with us, obviously, make sure to run that bias to make sure that that's actually the case. Usually that isn't usually the case until you hit multi six figures per month inside of your coaching business. You can really scale up with just one solid offer. So let's make sure that you have a solid foundation to a winning offer. So again, the purpose of this document is to outline your new program deliverables, get clarity on your ICP, and allowing you to serve clients, maximize the results, and create opportunities to increase your front and back end revenue. Now, although some of these questions may seem redundant, right, and a lot of these might seem simple, aka, what do you do? Your program promise, right? There's a reason why we have these, right? We want to ensure that you get crystal clear on your entire offer and your clients to map out the best path for their success and ultimately your success. So do not skip any single one of these questions here. And what I want you to do is actually be very intentional as you go through this. I want you to take these questions very, very, very seriously. I want you to think, okay, what do we do here, right? What do we actually do? If you're like, okay, well, we just help people with like finances, right? And that's what you put in there. Well, do you really have clarity on what it is that you're doing? Do you have clarity on who you're serving? Do you have an understanding of why you're doing what you're doing? Do you understand who your ICP really is? So what I want you to do here is actually, before you answer this question, I want you to answer this question last. I know I have it up here at the top, but what I want you to do is start thinking of this. But then what I want you to do is actually come back after you answer the rest of these questions here, and then come back and say, what is it that you do? So first of all, I want to start with, what is your program promise? And the way to frame this to yourself is, if somebody pays me X amount of money and they work with me for Y amount of time, what will be the result? Right? Or what can we 100% achieve with them? Now, let's say you are a person who helps people to lose weight. Well, there could be underlying medical reasons to why they can't lose weight, right? And did you make sure you're obviously setting the proper expectations in the beginning of the sales process, that those things can happen, right? But what I want you to think of is, okay, what will we 100% achieve by the end of this? Well, I can't promise them that they're going to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds. What I can promise is I'm going to leverage this exact system that we've used to help hundreds of other people to lose weight. We will give them the weekly accountability that they need to ensure that they are on track to hit this result, and to optimize their body and their decisions with them based on the responses that we get from their body throughout this process. Right? That is something that you can absolutely promise. Now, if you do want to have a promise, like a true promise, like you will lose 30 pounds, then I'd recommend having a guarantee around that. And also, too, if you do have a guarantee, I'm a big fan of having a conditional guarantee. I don't just like having just guarantees, because especially in done with you coaching programs, there's so many factors outside of your control that lead to their success. But if you do decide to have a guarantee, make sure it is conditional in some capacity. Don't make it so conditional that it's just like, okay, well then at this point, it's pretty much like having no guarantee. I've seen some coaching offers like, yeah, it's a conditional guarantee, or it's a guarantee. And then you get in and you realize it's like 10 pages of conditions that you need to hit that are incredibly, incredibly niche specific and also don't fully make sense. So make sure that you keep it pretty simple, but you have some sort of guarantee. But what this here is not meant to be a guarantee. This is meant to be, what will you actually accomplish, or what can you promise this person that you're going to do for them throughout this entire process? Next, let's go down to, who do you help? Right? And what I want you to do is describe this client's characteristics, industry, personality traits, age range, etc. Right? So let's say you help female doctors to, lose weight. Right? Well, who do you help? Well, you want to say, doctors, healthcare professionals, medical professionals, or maybe you just help doctors. And when you answer this question, I want you to use what I like to call the 95% rule. Whatever you put in here has to relate to 95% of your ICP. If 95% of your ideal clients are female, you don't want to say I help men and women, right? You want to say I help women. If you help men and women, then you don't want to just say women, right? So what I want you to do here is focus on the characteristics, the industry, right? What are their age ranges? I help, earlier nurses who are just starting off their career to get a healthy life balance before they fully dive into their nursing career. So I work with nurses who are 24 to like 30, right? That's who I specifically work with. who are women who typically, let's say for some reason, and I probably wouldn't do this here, but you were like, I just want to work with them in Massachusetts because there's a bunch of hospitals up there. Then you can also say they live in Massachusetts. Their characteristics and their personality, they're incredibly caring. They're incredibly hardworking. They burn out easily, right? Like, who are these people? So what is the price point of your main offer, right? So what is the price point of this going to be? Now, again, I would also almost think about this, answering this towards the end. If you already had a price, like let's say this is like maybe an offer you've kind of tested and validated slightly, but what I would actually do is maybe move this down here to the bottom. So I'm actually going to do that for you. So what I want you to then go through is, what are these people's main pain points and what are their main desires, and list at least 5. I would go crazy on this section if I were you. I would actually spend most of your time in answering these questions here. I'd actually spend them in this section here. List out as many pain points and desires as humanly possible and be extremely, extremely broad and extremely, extremely specific, right? Just like put out the entire range. Like, okay, nurses have a lot of potlucks. So they struggle to lose weight because they work 4 12-hour shifts a week and they have potlucks all the time. So it's hard to, maintain their nutrition and balance it, and they just try to eat when they can, and then they're a few days off, they're usually recovering and resting. Well, think about it this way. If you had like an ad hook that goes like, hey nurses, are you struggling to lose weight because of all the potlucks that you have and you have no time or energy after your 12-4 shifts? And they go, oh wow, yeah, this person gets me, right? So the pain points and the desires will be used to help you to obviously build out the framework, but also it's incredibly powerful in sales and marketing too. Get really clear on who these people are. A few really cool ways to do this too is also going on Reddit, right? Going on Reddit, going like nursing threads in Reddit and just like find what their main issues that they have are. Also going on to Amazon and looking at product reviews, right? Like maybe look at like, nursing products, like nursing shoes. And you see a bunch of nurses are like, my back's hurting all the time because, like my nursing shoes suck. And these ones helped out a lot. Right. But now you go, okay, a lot of nurses have hurt backs, right? You might be seeing that a lot. Oh, it's because they're standing on their feet all day and they're constantly bent over and helping people and doing all these things. Well, maybe you can add that in somewhere to your marketing, right? Like, hey, are you starting to experience back pain as a nurse and want to find ways to, mitigate? I don't know. You see where I'm going with that, right? There's a lot of really powerful ways to leverage this information. So spend a lot of your time here. Go on Reddit. Also doing client interviews. So we'll also there's an entire other training inside of this module here about validating your offer, which goes over how to actually have ICP interviews. Like, how do you interview these people? This document here is more about how to actually structure it, right? So if anything, you should probably go through the validation process before and then go through this process to really fully build out the offer. So from here, do you offer any guarantees in your program? If so, what are they? Right? So if you do offer a guarantee, again, we kind of went over this. I'm not going to dive too deep into this here because we already talked about this. But make sure if you do have a guarantee, it is conditional. If anything, I don't want to say I'm anti-guarantee, but I typically recommend not always doing a guarantee and just being incredibly clear and specific on setting expectations, and then having a really good contract that just sets those expectations as well too. So from here, go over, is your program done with you, done for you, or is it do-it-yourself? Is it do-it-yourself? Is it a self-paced course that they're going through? Is it done for you? Are you doing like an agency style service and it's all done for them? Or is it done with you, right? Are you working alongside them? Are you working together in tandem with them throughout the process? Like, are you meeting with them weekly, but then you give them tasks to go do? I find that coaching done with you or done together is just, I think, by far the most elite process in going or bringing people through an offer or through a service, because you get a very hot temp check on where they're at all times. They also learn the skill for themselves and they become accountable. And also it allows you to serve, right? Even here at Client Evolve, right? We have done for you and done with you service inside of our process. Yes, we have done for you marketing, right? Or done for you media buying, which we actually teach our clients how we go through the marketing process so they understand it. At that point, it just makes more sense for most of them to just delegate them out to a team of people who've been doing it for years and years and years. And then on top of that, we also have coaching as well too. So even in our agency-esque model, right, we still actually have a lot of coaching because it allows us to serve our clients better, allows us to make sure that they actually understand what's going on, and make sure that there's a lot more of that intimate touch point. So, however, depending on what your business is and what your offer is, each one of these might make sense for you depending on what you do. So check it out and take some time to think of how do you want this process to be structured. And then finally, once you have all this done, what is this transformation worth, right? So if somebody goes through and they go through, what is the promise worth to them? And what is the ultimate transformation that you're looking to have them achieve too, right? So that should be in here. Let me add that in here real quick. Ta-da, it's not magically inside of here. So what you want to now do is ask yourself, what is the ultimate transformation they come to you for, right? So if they come to you, what are you helping them to achieve? And what is the price of that worth, right? If you help people to create, and if you didn't watch it yet, the first training in this module is all about what it takes to create a winning offer. And I do a great breakdown in there. Go ahead and check it out on quality versus quantity style sales and quality versus quantity style offers and how to do your pricing based on that there. And then up here too, you'll also see what do you do, right? So now let's go back up here. The great way to frame this is I help specific person, right? So I help female nurses who, or I help young female nurses to achieve, the best shape of their life while avoiding pain, right? Or by leveraging unique mechanisms. You can say by leveraging our blah, blah, blah strategy. I don't think that's always as powerful because this right here is speaking directly to it while avoiding long hours at the gym and crazy nutrition plans, right? Or whatever that is that they are looking to avoid. So let's go down to the offer outline. Now, what I want you to do is first ask yourself, what is the support structure that you want to give them? And what expectation can be set around this, right? So there's a few different support methods, right? You got like email, Slack, phone. You can do Voxer. I framed that incorrectly. There's a lot of support methods that you can leverage. Make sure to be very clear on the ones that you want to leverage. Like, let's say you're like, hey, texting is just easy, and you do texting. Well, now you have 50 clients, and your phone's just blowing up all day, and you're messaging clients, right? So making sure whatever it is actually makes the most sense for you and for your clients. Discord, there's a million of them there. And then what are the current expectations, or what are the expectations that should be set here around the support? So for the support, what should they expect? Should they expect, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5? Are you available on weekends? Are you more available after hours? Let them know what they should be expecting around the support. From here, is there one-on-one coaching, right? Is there one-on-one time where they get with you? How often? Are you meeting with them weekly? Is it just at certain milestones? Are you doing group coaching, right? If you're going to do that, how often are you doing this? Are you doing weekly check-ins? Are you checking in with them every single week? Are you doing, maybe you even change this, you say, or maybe right here you say daily check-ins. And then you say format, right? Are you getting on a Zoom call? Or you send them an email? You send them a Slack message? What does a check-in actually look like? From here, course content, right? Is there any course content that you now need to create in order, or right here, just say yes or no. We'll go through how to do that down here. But for right here, just say yes or no, right? Or do you want to have course content that helps guide them through this so it's somewhat self-guided? Or do you want to, or are you just going to make it like purely coaching in resources and stuff like that too? Or are you just going to not do resources? Course content, this could also be / resources as well. And then also, length of the support access. How long do they have access to support for? This is very, very crucial, right? A lot of people just give like lifetime access because they just forget, honestly. They just forgot to add a timeline on, or sometimes they just are not fully aware of the transformation and how long it's going to take. So they're just like, hey, I'll work with you forever until you get this result. That's not enticing, by the way. If you tell me like, hey, I'm going to work with you and we're going to be working probably forever, that tells me, okay, so you're never going to get me the result. Because if you give me the result, we should stop working together. Or you should have a new service on the back end that incentivizes me to keep working with you. So make sure that you clarify the length of access to support. From here, we want to create your program outline. Right? So in this section, you're going to go through and map out your entire offer step by step throughout your entire program. I understand this will take some time, but this is a core of developing the most powerful offer in your niche. The reason why most coaches suck is because they don't do this. They don't take the time to go through and actually build out an offer. Now, this right here is very, very specific, and you don't actually have to start fully building out the entirety of this offer yet. You can build it as you go. Right, so the purpose of this document here is to create a new offer, right? So with that said, what we want to do is get an outline and a general understanding of how it's going to work. but realize that you might throw a lot of this stuff out the window once you start getting going. So I don't want you to spend too much time building. I want you to create an outline so you have an idea of like, okay, here's what I want to bring them through, and setting the expectation for the client as well that like, hey, this can change. Right now, I feel like it makes sense to, you might say we're going to do weekly one-on-one check-in calls for an hour every week. A few weeks in, you realize, wow, we don't really need an hour every single week. We can do 30 minutes every 2 weeks, right? So let the client know, especially for your first few clients, set proper expectations. Like, hey, this is the general roadmap I've put together. Here's how we're going to achieve that transformation together. This might change as you go through. People usually don't care. They just want to know that you have some sort of process that you're going to be bringing them through and you know what you're doing. That's really it. They don't care about specific deliverables. They don't even want to think about that, right? Just give them what they need. So from here, what I want you to do, and here's an example, right? So, and there's a template down here I'm going to have you fill out. So like, what are the main milestones? What are these sub milestones that they'll achieve under these milestones? So let's say milestone 1 is like nutrition, like dialing in the nutrition. What's a sub milestone, right? Well, creating a nutrition plan, going grocery shopping, right? Like what are the sub milestones that are underneath that big milestone? From here, you want to go through and set the expectations. What should they expect in this stage here, right? So if the sub milestone is nutrition plan, right, or right here is nutrition, and they have to build their nutrition plan. This right here, like, it might be overwhelming for them, right? They might have to, it might be emotional because they might be parting ways with certain foods that just aren't serving them anymore, right? Like, what can they expect? Or, hey, but you're going to feel really good after you go through this because you're going to have full clarity on what you can eat, and we're going to make sure we do cater this around some of your favorite food and food types, right? So what expectations should you be setting with them? What resources might be needed in here too, right? Do you need to put together a training document on this? Right, like a training, a training presentation, right? Video. This right here, training is a video. Do you need to put together a video on this? Well, yeah, you might want to have a video, and you might also want to have a presentation that walks them through. And you might want to have them fill out a document, or maybe you're like, hey, we'll do the document live on the call, but I need to build this document internally so I know to pull it up. And then, do they need to book a call after, right? Or is there any booking links that need to be associated with this too? For some people, it's just like, hey, we just book it on their calendar. Some people like to have it very organized where they have booking links for each stage of the program. That also helps the coaches as well, too, especially at scale when they see, different calls coming in and they know like, okay, this right here is a nutrition roadmap call. It just helps them prepare better for that call as well. So here's an example up here, right? So a milestone would be onboarding and setup, right? A sub milestone is they get an onboarding email. Right? They need to fill out the onboarding form. What are the current expectations? Right? They need to do this so that they can get their, you can get their proper contact info and ensure that they have access. I don't know why the slash is here. And then from here, what current resources do you maybe have? Right? Or what resources might be needed here? Right? Onboarding form, expectations that they need to have. So just go through here and just fill this out. And again, don't follow this exact up here. Make sure to follow this template down here. Now from here, what we want to do is delegate a build out. Now, once we realize that, okay, this outline's great, it's starting to work, or after you bring somebody through this process, now you actually want to build it out. You'll build it out along the way, but especially if, let's say you already have like a validated team, a big team, and a validated offer, a lot of times you test it, you can usually test it with a sample group of people, and then you want to go into building this thing out to make it more robust, especially so it's systematized at scale, right? So from here, what we want to do is delegate the build out. So from here, what I like to do is list out, or we already listed out all the sub milestones, what's needed, right? So for example, here we have sub milestone is onboarding, right? We need to set the expectation, show up on time to call, support is 9 to 5, etc. Right? All the expectations need to be set here. Resources, we'd probably want a training video here, right? So we would say yes. And this right here will be Josh. Josh is the coach. So we would say Josh is the coach, so he's going to do that, and he's also going to do the presentation. Sarah over here is our ops person who is going to help create the links here for the onboarding call. So what I like to do, and to keep this very simple, right? So you'll just go through this entire thing here and just color code, is I like to do tasks that are not done are red, tasks that are in progress are orange or yellow, and the tasks that are completed are green. I just like to do orange because I think yellow kind of sucks to look at. So I do orange. So from here, let's say Josh has not started the training yet. However, Josh has or is in progress or is working on this presentation here. And Sarah's killing it. Sarah's already gone through and she has built this. Right? So this can act as a master doc where your team comes through and they can also update it. Like maybe they decide like, oh, I added a training in here. And this way you can actually see who's doing what and doing what task. If you have a project management software or a task management software, I highly, highly recommend using that as well. Like for example, here, we are currently using Notion inside of this to actually build out these school trainings, right? So for example, I come into here, right? We have our, actually right in here, I can show you front and back end offers, intro to winning offers, the presentation, the video we're done this time, not yet been uploaded to school. So if we go down here, we can see I'm currently working on structure your high ticket offer right here. This is where we're at. So I'm currently recording this video. Once it's done, I will link it inside of here, right? So, but we also have the document that we're working on right now already linked inside of here. So we have a project management software. You can see that it's assigned to me. Then from here, you can always add due dates on here as well too. And also have weekly meetings to make sure that people are actually accomplishing each one of these updates here. So final thing I like to do is making sure that you have your client success metrics that you are tracking. So I like to have metrics and a process to track results for every 30, 60, 90, 180, and 365 days, right? And this way we can actually make sure that we are tracking the right things throughout the process. So right here, number one is program results. And what's the average completion time for getting these done or at each one of those stages? I also want to make sure we're tracking if it's an income offer, right? Financial results, right? If it's income from current employment or like from the business that they just generated, average total income change, right? Like, percentage of income change. And then also freedom results, right? If you help people to, let's say, leave their remote job and go full or in-person job and help them work remote, how much time are they able to save by doing this too? These are just some examples here. But what I like to do is just also think and just start thinking long-term. And again, if you work here with us at Client Evolve, we have processes and trackers. We also have the client success tracker that helps track a lot of these milestones for you. But also just think of, okay, like what kind of results do we want to get here? And obviously we do have Client Sonar as well too, which is our software here and that we leverage to help clients to track their client results and client success metrics more closely. So feel free to check that out as well too, if you're not already currently using that, and that can help you to track those results better. So with that being said, here's a process of going through and creating an offer. Just to recap on a few things. One, go through and spend most of your time up here and really getting clear on who these people are and who you want to serve. And by this point, you should have pretty much already validated your offer. You should have gone through the offer validation process and came up with your offer hypothesis and tested it. And then from there, now it's time to actually go ahead and structure the offer. So now you want to go through here. And from there, once the offer has been validated, now you want to go through and delegate out the build outs to the offer.